Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. This is the Brooks Bullshit, No Bullshit show. We're talking about movies and stuff, and this one's called Glass because it's named after a person named Glass, who's named after glass because his body is similar to glass.
Yeah, right. Well, his first name was Mr.
Mr. His first name's Mr.
Last name Glass.
Last name's Glass. Movie's first name is Glass. Last name maybe could be Ass. Because I think some people weren't appreciating the turns this movie took. I know I got a couple of co-hosts here that have strong opinions about this flick. Why don't you guys introduce yourself?
Myself?
Yeah.
Well, I'm Miguel. I, work in television and stuff like that. But just overall, the movie, you know what? I'm going to say it has a good peak, but then at a certain point in the movie, they do a twist that just really knocked me out of the movie. And let's say I'm a huge fan of this franchise. I've loved Unbreakable. That's probably one of my favorite superhero movies in general. My favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie. And Split was such a good follow-up to it because it was such a surprise hit, when a surprise sequel to it being. And it was such a great origin story for a supervillain. You've never seen anything like that. And I understand the build-up to this movie has been 19 years in the making, and it's hard to stick to landing sometimes. And it just, to me personally, it didn't. It didn't stick that landing. Yeah,
it had a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
And I think as a better intro for everyone watching, thanks for tuning in. I see Supreme Boy, Mr. Crinkle.
Wait, you asked him who he is. Now it's time to ask me who I am.
Who are you, though? I want to know, too.
I'm a voice from the What the Funk Show podcast. I'm a human male from America. Hello to Mr. Crinkle, Supreme Boy, and Mr. Crinkle again. This movie is, what expectations are you going to have after an awesome unknown sequel that was Split to an awesome underrated movie in Unbreakable? So I didn't really have any expectations. So this movie is exactly what I expected. Good music, interesting action. Sam Jackson actually did a really good job in this. Sam Jackson can be oversaturated because he's in everything, but he was probably my favorite part of the movie.
That's why he's in everything.
Well, for you love Sam
Jackson.
He's
my favorite actor.
Yeah, I just wish he would have said motherfucker. I wanted him to say it like throughout the movie at certain points.
I feel like when he learned about what was going on, that one scene when he flew back, I wish he was like mother, and that's would have been the cool.
He's done that before though. It's a little cheesy because that's what reminds me. This movie was very like serious, intense.
Yeah, well, it's grounded.
It's very grounded, and that's kind of where this series comes from. And something I wanted to mention, just kind of about the expectation stuff too. We're talking about Glass, starring Samuel L. Jackson as Glass, but there's also Bruce Willis as what is now called the Overseer, which I think is a cool name for him. And then the Beast is James McAvoy. And it's a sequel, and I think it has a lot to live up to because Unbreakable was M. Night Shyamalan's second movie.
Yeah.
And it was right after following up The Sixth Sense, which is just kind of like a legendary movie.
Yeah.
Like totally epic, put him on the map.
But not his best to me, just the best.
Yeah, maybe not. I like a lot of his movies, and that's why I was excited about this one. I wasn't trying to get high hopes. Like you said, you had no hopes or no expectations.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trying to do that either, but I was hoping some because I'm like, I really like that old classic Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Like between Sixth Sense, Signs, Unbreakable, the Village, right?
See, I feel like that's where people started losing him, was The Village, but then because of the ending was too over the top for people.
Well, I think because of Sixth Sense, the whole part that got him famous was the huge twist at the end.
Yeah,
and then Unbreakable technically had a huge twist. So every time you watch the Shyamalan movie, it was what's the big twist at the end?
Yeah,
and The Village was such a letdown. And then he did the
Lady in the Water.
Lady in the Water, and then there was one you watched with the grandparents. Remember The Visit?
Well, The Visit is actually not bad. I actually like
but that also had a twist. Right?
Yeah, they all.
And then he did Last Airbender. That was a big flop.
That was one of the
Happening. It's really what we.
And The Happening. Yeah.
So the first ones I mentioned were the first. I don't know.
His first three. No, his first three were
they're solid.
Signs is my favorite.
Signs is good and it's still good. And then like you were saying too, that's when it started to go downhill. Was later on. The Happening. I'm not sure the exact order, but I know also After Earth was a big flop.
Oh yeah,
wow, he did After Earth.
So we had After Earth and The Last Airbender were his biggest misses.
Yeah,
you can argue the other ones a little bit more, but
After
maybe
also
we'll say
had a big
it went. The
twist,
happening
right?
was when everyone was like, "Oh, what the heck?"
That was going downhill. Yeah.
And
I
then
thought The Village.
Then
before.
the last, that one, yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
people still like.
I still like The Village personally. Like, I mean, I haven't seen it again recently, but that one was a classic one.
Don't you
for
think
me.
it was almost like Dark Knight Rises in a way? It was like people who were such Shyamalanians were like, no, it's good. He hasn't made a bad movie yet. But they were like, yeah, we're really having to fight really hard in The Village. Like, it's kind of weak in some parts. And then Lady in the Water comes out, and that
I didn't rewatch that one, to be honest.
That's
with
the
you.
thing.
I didn't hate
like,
it.
Yeah, because I
didn't
don't
like Lady in the Water either.
It was a little more like Signs, whereas all these different things are happening, and you get why the characters are doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when they fight the wolf or whatever.
Yeah, because it's almost like an adult fantasy.
Totally.
Yeah, and so like I mean, I definitely want to get that one another watch. It's been like 10 years.
Anyone who hasn't seen it, because they actually did kind of go under the radar, and depending on Mr. Crinkle and Supreme Boy, how old you guys are, Lady in the Water, Voodoo,
Did you like
Netflix?
Because I thought it was like one of the downhill ones, like similar to The Happening, where I would actually put those in the same ballpark, where they were still classic Shyamalan and still almost good, but just like falling off.
Definitely liked it more than The Happening, because Mark Wahlberg
Happening
as
was
a
a
professor
joke.
just doesn't make sense.
If you watch that movie as a terrible B movie, like from the 50s, great movie.
Yeah.
But if you watch it as like, oh, this is a real movie, like, oh, this is
and like him in Transformers, you don't want to see Mark Wahlberg as an inventor.
Yeah,
It was weird that he did those
professor.
Transformers
okay,
movies.
he talks to a plastic plant. Like, let's just say that's
Which,
the
by
highlight
the way,
of
I saw Bumblebee, and that one was good. So
Bumblebee
I
was
brought it
legit.
back for
Bumblebee
that.
is solid.
And then, but back to the Shyamalan movie, specifically, Lady in the Water reminded me of something because it had some similarities with these Unbreakable movies too, because it kind of like deconstructed the story. And the Unbreakable is focusing on like comic books and heroes.
Yeah.
But Lady in the Water had stuff like that too, but it was
Fairy
like
tales.
It was
yeah,
fairy tales.
it was like different, but it had the writer in it, you know, like
it was more like
stuff like
a
that.
ground, like, okay, he took what idea of these superheroes or fairy tales or fantasies, and usually they're in these grand scales and painting these big pictures, but he takes the movies and make them very realistic, very real, very grounded. Like he gives you what you think would actually happen if someone discovered they were a superhero or someone discovered they were in a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And I think he did a good job doing that. And it's just, then he started to let the ball go when he first got to do his first R-rated movie, which was The Happening, and then he said The Last Airbender.
Is he in every one of his movies?
Yep.
He does
Every
a lot of
single
cameos.
one.
Except I don't know about The Last Airbender or After Earth, because After Earth didn't have any.
What about The Visit? Was he in The Visit?
I don't think he was actually.
So it seems like the movies that he thinks are his good ones are the movies that he shows up in.
He does a lot.
Because he was in Lady in the Water. He might have had his
That was his
biggest
role.
part.
Because he was the writer, right, or something.
Well, he's like a neighbor.
Yeah.
And all the neighbors bound together in that movie.
I think he was a super, wasn't he?
Super, yeah.
Yeah, he was
So he's like one of the characters. Like you've seen him a few times.
Well, I
remember
like
that part.
how he brought up that was the same character that Bruce Willis stopped in Unbreakable.
That's what was cool.
Yeah.
That's why I got to give
Yeah,
a lot
I knew
of
they were
credit.
going to do that because they brought back a few other ones too. Like they try to bring back all the Unbreakable stuff they could.
Because I remember that scene. He hits him, and when he's in the stadium, and the guy was like walking. He left a scene of him in drugs in the bathroom.
he had
or whatever.
drugs or something. And
But then you said that David, the character from Split, the 24 personality, or in this one like 42. I mean, he had a lot more come out.
Yeah, Kevin Wendell Crumb is in the first Unbreakable.
The mom,
and it's kind of like a retro.
Did you catch that when you rewatched it?
Shyamalan admitted.
When did that happen?
It's like in one of the scenes where he's walking around.
He hits an abusive mother.
He hits someone. And he sees a flash
abuse
of like
between a kid and a
yelling
mom.
at a kid.
Oh,
And it
I did
turns
see
out
that.
like Shyamalan confirmed that ended up being Crumb.
But in the credits, did it say Crumb or
no?
not?
In the credits, it just says like Lady and Son or something like that.
I mean, dude, there is a scene. Yeah, that's true.
And I looked it up too. Like they had like a couple posts about people confirming that, and Shyamalan said in an interview. But
wait, two things in Glass. I gotta say, I said the favorite character was Sam Jackson. But yeah, he was awesome. But I think all the praise has to go to McAvoy. Like it's probably because it's so over the top. They might not. I mean, did he get any nominations last year? Okay, so it's so over the top. Theatrical wise, they're saying like we're not going to give you anything. But like the amount of work he has to put in.
Yeah, he's great.
This movie's taking a lot out of him.
He's really the best.
He got top billing because I mean, you're right.
He did a lot more work than Bruce Willis.
Oh, Bruce Willis, yeah.
I mean,
I'm not gonna lie, dude. Bruce Willis over the years I think he just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, well, I think we're
this
so tired
movie
of him.
too. Like it doesn't focus on him. Like he already got the origin movie.
Yeah.
And then Split had a movie, but he still plays a bigger role.
Yeah.
And he just has like a lot more to him. Like we saw so many more characters than the first one.
Yeah.
But I would say
he's really embracing the horde, which is cool.
Totally, yeah.
And I like how he was saying like certain people from the Split had jumped sides. Now they were defending the Beast as opposed than they were in the first one because it was only 3 Patricia, Dennis, and Henwick were the only ones that actually were with the Beast in the Split. Now in this new one, there was like 10 other people that jumped over.
Oh,
yeah, because there's like they say at one point it's like 23 of them, 24 of them, and we still haven't seen like every single one yet. Like because that's a lot, you know. We only see like 5 in the first movie, and I would say back to his acting, like you mentioned, like I was thinking that in the movie too. That's some of the best acting, just the way he changes character, and he does it on a dime. Sometimes he'll just change in the same shot.
That was cool.
Like he'll change like so many things. Like that's some really, really high caliber.
It takes a lot of energy.
He killed it.
To be able to do that.
And he even did better. I would say he got more different stuff to work with. So this one is even more than Split.
Yeah, because Split was a horror movie, like thriller horror. We can say. You know, it's funny. I'll bring it back to Unbreakable. When that movie first came out, Disney, which ran Miramax, marketed that movie terribly.
Yeah.
They marketed it as a thriller horror.
Which one?
Unbreakable. Yeah. When they first came out, because they're like, oh, we need to ride the success of Sixth Sense, so this is a horror thriller. But it's like that was nothing, and that's why that movie went under the radar. I think like it's too bad because that movie is so good. Like,
well, it's also like, and this is the other thing I was thinking of was, it's also just very like subtle and like understated. You know, it's not like it does the superhero thing, and there's a few times where Jackson gets revved up in the first Unbreakable, but mostly it's very like realistic, grounded. Like even when Bruce Willis goes on like his missions, like he just kind of like walks. He's very calm. So it's like it's not your typical like, oh, there's a big action scene in a superhero movie, and they're like breaking everything. I mean, it does happen, and there are some cool parts like in Unbreakable when he latches onto that bad guy and he's like busting on the wall. But it's like if you think of that scene, it's just like a one long take. And he's hitting the wall, and it's like very realistic. Yeah, and
it makes you think because the last 10 years, it's all been about Batman Begins changed film in general, not just superhero movie, but in general, because of origin stories to be more based in realism.
Well, that's
find ways to answer questions instead of just always making the audience think of it. That's what I'm saying. So technically, if you look at it, Unbreakable, you know, they marketed it wrong, but is kind of maybe the one to do it. But
it set up this whole
Batman Begins still
era.
Is kind of the biggest proponent, but Unbreakable definitely deserves credit for being like
it made him bigger. Like,
well, because it came out between X-Men and Spider-Man too.
Yeah, so it's very old.
Yeah, right before the big Superman.
Well, this came out before X-Men 2, I think.
Well, no, before X-Men 2 for sure, but it came out. X-Men came out first.
Okay, and then I think that's and there's also tons of other hero movies. Like it's not like it was the first one. There was like Blade and you can go back to other old Batman, Superman. But I think what Unbreakable did was just kind of like what you're saying with Batman Begins. Batman Begins just kind of made it better, bigger.
Yeah.
But like from somewhere, like Unbreakable got that like realistic hero.
Yeah.
And it was like, even with the powers, like, because Batman's also has another thing where he can do better because he's not really dealing with like powers, like supernatural stuff or something.
He's rich, he has everything in his garage.
It's like built for it better, you know, and he eventually gets some superpowered villains. But yeah, with Unbreakable, that's the one thing I was thinking. And then what was kind of cool was to see how they reacted. Now we're talking, 19 years later since the first movie. And it's like they have to deal with this movie, Glass, by the way. We'll get to Glass more in a second, focus on that. But yeah, I was just thinking it's cool to see it where it's come, because now a lot of things are similar to Unbreakable, and we've seen them kind of, and we're seeing where this story goes too.
Every franchise got reboot after that. I mean, James Bond, Jack Ryan, all the big franchises became more of a Batman Begins. You know, it's just more. Don't just believe it with bright colors. Like, okay, so Batman, how do you explain? How do you get his cape? Oh, okay, well, it's a military project, and when you touch it a certain way, it adds. What is it? What is it like?
Fireproof and stuff.
When you rub your head with like a balloon and then it sticks.
Static.
Yeah,
static resistance.
Static electricity. Yeah. So like, okay, so that's how he's able to do is floating and flying through. So just answers questions here and there. And every movie, franchise, television reboot since then does that.
Well, it's funny you're saying gone is the days of the '90s. Over the top,
Joel Schumacher,
big budget movies, where you're right, it's like very colorful, very comical, like big music and everything like that.
Other than Guardians, but I think the way they got around is because it's in space.
Yes,
and it's better. Still a great movie.
The other thing that reminds me of, you mentioned the X-Men, and later X-Men kind of got this too, where
First Class.
Yeah, First Class, and it's like it's kind of similar if you think about it, like the way they explain the superheroes in Unbreakable. It's kind of like he says it's just like certain people like kind of get that power when they're born with it in their genes.
Yeah. And
that's kind of what's going on in X-Men in a different way, where they call them like mutants and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not like, it's different than like other heroes like that's like grounded on Earth, like kind of scientific almost. And then the other ones you could think of like Superman, he like comes from space, you know, like there's other ones that are just like totally different. Yeah. So this one has that kind of similar thing. And it's funny how you mentioned it came out at the same time X-Men was coming out.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, let's focus. Good thoughts. Awesome. And if you guys in the chat have any questions, definitely hit us up. But now let's focus just on Glass for like the last couple minutes here. Like, what do we think of this movie? We talked about all these other things building up to it, but and I think we prefaced things at the beginning. But
okay, let me go ahead and
I'd say it's a mixed bag.
We've gone positive here. I think we should let Miguel just rip it to shreds.
I'm not gonna rip it to shreds. I'm gonna say the majority of the movie is great. I was in my seats, like I was getting the back sweats because it was so good. I was so into it.
In your seats, you had multiple seats.
That's how excited I was. I was running up and down the aisle.
I rented out multiple seats.
I was like, I want this movie.
I want room.
I'm not gonna lie, I was very excited. Like I watched the other two, get pumped up all day at work.
I did too. Yeah,
I couldn't focus on work because I really wanted to watch the movie.
Oh damn. Okay.
Zen Master just said Unbreakable and Split are the best M. Night movies. I could see that.
I agree.
Signs, dude. Signs is awesome.
I agree with
you.
He
has other good ones, but like I think it's hard to say. But these line of movies, these three, it's definitely like some of his best.
Yeah.
I don't know if Glass is going to be on that list, but the first two for sure.
Okay, let's just say this: it had such a good build-up, but again, like I was saying earlier, it just the ending is very important. The ending is very important to your product, and to me personally, the ending did not stick with me. They decided to go this whole different way. If they wanted to go that way, they should have peppered it throughout the whole movie, so we had a general idea what's happening. But like, I was so taken out of the movie, but what happened at the end, and it just really ruined the whole experience for me. Like it was like the movie Hereditary. Like I really liked the whole setup of that whole movie, but then the ending again really ruined it for me. And if that happens, it's tough.
It's tough.
It kills the whole vibe for me.
I definitely felt similar. Like I don't know if I hated the ending as much, but I think like 75% of the movie I was like totally into it. And it was super sick. Like in the beginning, we got to see where Bruce Willis was all this time and what he's been up to. And then the way they eventually all got together at the hospital, which we've seen in the trailers, like that was all cool. But yeah, towards the end, I think a few of the twists and turns were just a little like, not like it ruined it, but there were definitely a couple times. It's hard to say without like spoiling it. So I'm trying to like
the twist that Miguel hated. I think we all were like, yeah, this is a little lame. But then I think at least Brooks and I seems like, well, I don't know for you, but
I still ended good.
It kind of rounded out a little bit at the end there.
Yeah.
Because if it had ended just like that, then I would agree that it was a waste of my time. But the way it kind of rounded out a little bit was like, okay, at least I can kind of accept this. But again, I didn't.
I'll say another weakness too was, and I know everyone likes her. And like Sarah Paulson could be really good, but I wasn't like feeling it in this movie.
But see,
I don't have an issue with her.
She's odd.
Yeah.
And without doing spoilers, if you just know Sarah Paulson, I mean, there's a reason she gets cast in movies. She plays a certain role. I mean, she's on 8 seasons of American Horror Story.
She's like a weird,
for a reason.
She's got like that dark.
To me, she's like Holly Hunter's crazy sister, who was like really into drama and shit. But I think she was good for what she was supposed to be, because she was supposed to be weird and out there without giving too many spoilers. But why else would she be in it? There's obviously there's something up.
Yeah, well, I thought that too. That's why at the end I was like, okay, this is cool. Like I thought there was, I was like, there's something more to her character. She's the doctor, or supposedly. I think she's supposed to be like in charge of their doctor.
She is the doctor.
She's trying to prove that they're just delusional, and like that's. And her, I mean, I think her character works well for what they ultimately do, and I mean, ultimately, I don't know. It's hard for me to really defend this movie. Yes, I probably shouldn't have gone to it. I mean, I've been waiting for this movie for like 18 years, like in retrospect, really, because I mean, if you would have just kept them each in single movies, then it'd been fine. But since you connected them, I just don't think you landed like these characters I loved growing up, and it's just like what you did with it at the end. I'm just not.
Yeah, but be honest. Other than like Avengers movies and like the Marvel movies, honestly, like what movies have satisfied you? The ones that keep you up all night, the ones that you can't concentrate on work on. Like how many of those actually live up to your expectations? Because for me, like none of them ever really do.
I mean, even the Marvel one
sometimes movie has done that for me.
Well, that's a childhood. You always.
And then the other thing was
you always have that in your DNA.
Because he's probably the best writer out there, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you just reminded me talking about.
No, but answer me, like how many of those actually end up being
But like, I
you
mean,
end up being pretty disappointed most times, right?
well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I try to think. It's kind of hard to think on the spot of like what.
Interstellar, for example, for me.
See, I didn't hate Interstellar like everybody did,
but it wasn't as good as you expected, was it?
No, I mean, it wasn't Inception. Obviously, like it's hard to follow Inception.
Would you disagree if I told you that Interstellar, you're probably a little disappointed the first time you watched it, but it got better when you watched it again?
Well, when I watched, yeah, obviously, because that's like, yeah, you're right with your expectations.
Murph.
Your expectation is set up, to a certain point, and then yes, it's like you don't meet that expectation. But then again, like when I rewatch it once I'm like more settled and I know what's happening, then it's like okay, I get and stuff like that. But I just feel how they treated certain persons of this movie was very unflattering, and I just didn't like that, and it really ruined it for me.
I think it's a bitter ending too. It's like no one really makes it. I mean,
just try not to spoil.
Yeah, try not to spoil it, but I mean, basically, it's just like it just all goes to shit at the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and it's just like obviously they're not going to go anywhere else.
Well, he said it. He already said it, and I thought like, well, he's not doing it anymore.
But the thing it reminded me of was I think this is like his first sequel.
Well, technically, Split would be his first sequel.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though. Like I was gonna say,
this before. This is the conclusion to the trilogy.
Triple movie.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like it's Split isn't like. I mean, you could say it's a sequel, but it's like a secret sequel.
Yeah.
It's like
so
it's like I think there's a difference.
That's why it was so great.
Yeah, well, I agree with you.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
Unbreakable is the origin story of a superhero, and then Split was the origin story of a supervillain. Like that was I've never seen that before. Like Split, for instance, like. That movie went to no expectations, and I came out like, oh man, I was really
good. I think that's the problem is like with this one, it's like they advertise it as a sequel to both of them, and it was like this big hype up and just kind of like
how many people honestly like when I was watching Split and I heard the music in the diner, I was like, I listened to a lot of fucking movie music, so I'm like, what, a 5%, if 1% of the population who is going to get that?
I flipped out.
So I was like, oh my god.
Okay, he's talking about at the end of Split, very diner. They play the music from Unbreakable.
Yeah, which they had in this movie too.
Yeah,
every time,
which is great.
David's music is a certain.
Bruce Willis shows up.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But how many people got? I had a lot of friends when I was like, watch this movie, check it out, and they were replying like, yeah, and it turns out it's Bruce Willis from The Sixth Sense. Like the masses have no idea what was happening, and like I said, going into this movie, which you guys were like, no, you weren't, but you're like, no, I don't think so. A lot of people are not going to get this movie, dude.
No, it's true because you know what it is. It's like. That's what I was thinking too. Is like because it's like a sequel to Unbreakable, but it's like
don't watch this movie. Watch Unbreakable, guys. If you haven't seen it,
it's a sequel to Unbreakable, but it's like Unbreakable wasn't that big of a deal. It's like making a sequel to a movie. Not like you're saying, like not a lot of people even seen or remember it unless you're hardcore fans.
Yeah.
And of the three, this is probably the least satisfying twist.
Yeah.
Of the three.
But I did like
it's and then like okay, no, I can't even
Split is so good too. Like Split is so good.
Dude,
and that's why it's cool about it is like we're saying it's a sequel, but it's not advertised as a sequel. It's like a sleeper sequel, whatever. But what's cool about it is like you're saying, it's like a villain origin story, and it addresses a lot of the same things that Unbreakable does, but it's just like through a therapist and through these like multiple personalities. And then we see that all come together in Glass. And I think it just turned into, for me, I was thinking a mixed bag where it's like, I was on board for a lot of it. I didn't like some of it. Probably would watch it again, like just to see it all again. But I don't know. It's hard to recommend it to people because like you're just saying, like, unless they saw the other ones, I mean, I feel like you're not going to be super into it.
This movie's not for everybody. And honestly, for me, like, I'm getting older and boring, guys. I'm sorry, but like, I would rather just been at home and watch this at home. So I was tired, long day at work. Like,
well, I think IMAX helps. I mean, IMAX really, it wasn't
all tuckered out.
I just love watching the movies on the big screen. Like, I mean, that's why they make them.
Yeah.
It's for the big screen, and like,
it looks better.
IMAX was, I think, really did help, and the coloring was great. That movie, it was like. He always used the coloring kind of to make the character what they were, like David's green.
When I think of movies that I have to watch IMAX, I don't think of Glass. Like Mission Impossible, Mission Impossible Fallout, that was so great to watch in theaters.
And that's the thing. It is true about, like, I get what you're saying, because Glass is like borderline, like you'd think it would be, because it's like almost a hero movie.
We did Bohemian Rhapsody IMAX. That was awesome.
Yeah. And like Marvel movies are perfect for IMAX too. Like you want that, but like this movie just kind of, it had that hero stuff in it, but it's shot pretty normal.
Yeah.
Like it's not And I mean, it
Harsh
shot
color.
good.
Dolby
It
was
shot good.
Dolby might have been good.
Dolby.
Too.
Well, it's like we did
Sound.
Spider-Man for Dolby, so like
Oh,
that was
should watch
awesome.
That. I saw that one on IMAX. That one would be probably dope in IMAX.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so good.
So
That one.
well, I think Dolby might have you watched it with us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
No.
yeah.
Spider-Man
So
Homecoming.
I think
No.
Spider-Man Verse was better on Dolby than it is
Spider-Verse.
IMAX.
Yeah,
because
we went
IMAX
to
is just
that.
a bigger screen.
Sorry,
right?
I was thinking of
Whereas
Homecoming.
Dolby, they showed you the color difference
That's true.
and the sound.
And you need that really.
So
bad movie.
personally, I prefer the. I mean, I prefer the.
Yeah,
Dolby
yeah. I
theater
think
over,
Dolby. A lot of people
IMAX.
say Dolby's the ultimate.
Yeah.
It's just like IMAX is really good too. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
It's
they're
big,
both
like-
sweet.
But yeah,
And then there's the chairs situation. There's like different
it's
options.
like Miss Marvel. We're doing IMAX. I think.
Mhm.
Is that we're doing IMAX?
Yeah.
You'll be in fucking wherever you're at now.
Yeah.
Naples,
Say-
baby. Naples,
Captain
Florida.
Marvel is the next big one. But yeah, if we want to wrap things up, I think we got all the Glass talk out of there.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just give our.
I'll give it a 5.
Final rating?
5.8 out of 10.
Okay.
Damn, that's surprising because I'm gonna give it like a 5.5 out of 10. I thought you liked it a little bit more than I did.
Dude, what did I? This movie was never going to be.
It's too bad. I mean, I was really pumped for it. I really was.
But the equation, like, this not. It was already a crazy second movie that we didn't. See
I
coming.
maybe the ending. If that ending was so different, it might have been better.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same place too. Like I don't want to give the same rating, but I'd probably just go to a 6. Like
This
just
is just
a
like
little
the
bit
Aliens
more.
movies, dude. We wanted this story, the Aliens, and then we finally got it, and we're like, well, this
Actually,
is
that's
what we
true.
wanted.
If Neil
That's true, though.
Blomkamp would have done the Alien sequel that we wanted, we would have got what we wanted.
But sure,
But no, I
that's
can
not
see a
what
lot of
happened.
similarities. Like that's now that you say it, it reminds me of Alien Covenant
Ugh,
Yeah,
it was
because
totally,
it's like
totally.
it's like a
But Ridley Scott's
it's like a
lost it, though.
later
Oh, yeah,
sequel,
like, legitimately.
and it's like the same original director, but it's like way later, and it's just kind of like
It's a
comes
great beginning foundation for a story and a universe, but we never really asked for a sequel. And once we go, like, oh, well, they could do this and that, and then it's like, well, this wasn't written. This isn't like from some book or something. So it's just the director making it up, and usually that doesn't work out. I mean, you get more kind of commentary like this on the What the Falk Show, just so you know. But like, did you watch The Matrix? Like, how did Matrix 2 and 3 work out? When they made Matrix, they did not
Matrix
write.
2, I'm not gonna hate on Matrix 2. I like Matrix.
Yeah,
2.
but they didn't write 2 scripts
Yeah.
after they made The Matrix. They had that, and
Yeah.
they made a lot of money. They got pushed, and sure, there's entertaining parts of both 2 and 3, but
Yeah.
it's not the same.
It's kinda
No one
like-
would ever say
yeah,
it's the
yeah.
same.
And it's kind of like how like Star Wars.
I like Return of the Jedi.
Oh, me
Yeah, I was
too.
gonna say. I was gonna say Star
Oh,
Wars.
Star Wars, the
It's
first
like-
original Star Wars. We can't compare the first
No,
three
no.
Star Wars to
It's-
anything.
No, but I'm saying like
Every one of those movies is fucking awesome.
they're great. No, I'm saying though like they're definitely not. They don't fall off as much as The Matrix or Alien.
Oh, totally.
But no, I'm saying though the thing that reminded me of it was how George Lucas will kind of like pretend or used to pretend that he had it all planned out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
sure
like
he
it was
did.
like no, you did it one at a time.
Midichlorians.
Maybe he did better planning on the prequels, but we know that turned into like it has mixed reactions too.
better planning on the prequels than the first 3 Star Wars. Wait, I mean the.
No, they didn't turn out as good. I'm saying though,
Oh,
like
yeah.
I mean, he probably did have more time to prep this.
I think he
prequels, to be
prepped
honest with you,
those
but
Too much of this
Yeah, maybe
Lucas.
too
but
much-
it did turn out
too
better.
much
It turned out
on his
worse.
time. But
Those movies
Yeah,
suck.
but I think he had that like timeline more with that. Whereas with the originals, it was just kind of like 2 sequels.
I don't even own the prequels, and I probably never will.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna own.
There's
it
no
either.
reason to own.
I'm a
it.
huge
so
Star Wars
much.
fan, and like I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks,
that was
guys.
Glass. Make sure you leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and we'll see everybody next time.
Be fucking safe out there.
I'm not sure what movie's next, but there's a couple other good ones. We'll be there.